Hiya for. Let's find out what happens now that he's killed Grendel's mother. You'd think it might be the end of the book. It's not quite. For a long while, Beowulf leaned on the blood-stained sword. His heart was pounding. A man with the strength of 30, slayer of Grendel and slayer of the sea-wolf, his mother. A hero without equal in this middle world. Then Beowulf looked about him. He saw a recess, a small cave, and in the cave he found Grendel's body, drained of lifeblood. As a trophy, Beowulf said grimly, and one blow he severed the monster's head, your head and this massive sword. The Geat spoke too soon. The patterned blade had begun to drip and melt like a gory icicle. Because of the venom in the monster's blood, it thawed entirely, right up to the hilt. So Beowulf grasped all that remained of it, picked up the sword Hrunting and Grendel's head, and left that vaulted chamber. He swam up through the water. Beowulf's companions, still waiting at the lakeside, were overjoyed to see their leader. They handed him up onto the bank and marvelled at his trophies. Quickly they relieved him of his helmet and corslet. After the 9th hour, one Geat said, it seemed hopeless. We still hoped, said another. And the Danes? Beowulf asked. They went back to Heorot, said one man. And another said, when the water boiled with blood, they thought it was all over. So it was, said Beowulf, for Grendel's mother. The Geats tied Grendel's head to a great pole, a battering ram. You can't really see that. It's not a very good picture. The Geats tied Grendel's head to a great pole, a battering ram. 4 of them shouldered it. Then with songs on their lips, Beowulf and his companions left the lake. The journey back to the Gold Hall seemed far shorter than their outward journey, and at that same evening they carried the monster's head onto the floor where the warriors were drinking. A ghastly sight paraded before Hrothgar and his queen. Beowulf walked up before the gift throne, firm-footed, flanked by his companions. Hrothgar, he said, son of Helfdene, ruler of the Danes, proudly we lay before you plunder from the lake. Hrothgar shook his white head and smiled and embraced the Geat. Beowulf, he said, bravest of men, fate's darling, your friends are fortunate, your enemies not to be envied. Even Hrunting was useless, said Beowulf, but it was my ally, do not think I underrate it. He returned the sword to Unferth and thanked him for the loan of it. Tell us all, tell us everything, urged the old king. I tell you, Hrothgar, you and your warriors can sleep in this gold hall without fear. The death shadow will skulk near Heorot no longer. And then Beowulf related what had happened after he had left the Geats and the Danes at the lakeside. The companions ate and they drank. Weary in their bones, they lay down to rest, safely in the hall of Heorot. So, he's achieved his mission, he's killed Grendel's mother, and they're now celebrating again in this great hall, and King Hrothgar has said to Beowulf, tell us all, tell us what happened, describe what happened, tell us what happened to the bottom of the lake. They'd all given up hope and gone home. They thought that he had been dead hours ago because he was gone for so long. What I want you to try and do today, I'm going to have to really concentrate now because we haven't done this for a while, is write a play script, a short play script. So you don't need inverted commas. It's a short play script about that scene where he's in the hall telling everyone what happened. So if you imagine the scene of Beowulf and his men, they're returned back, they're celebrating in the Great Hall. Try and think about what the different people may be saying to Beowulf and what he was saying as he was retelling the story of how he killed Grendel's mother. Now there's a little bit of a play script here. It's about Alice in Wonderland. It's been put in different colours to help you to see which bit's which, but you don't have to do it in different colours. So basically the red writing is what you would normally have inside inverted commas or inside speech bubbles. That's the bit that somebody's actually saying. You don't have to write said Alice or said Mad Hatter, which is what is on here, or said Beowulf for you. You don't have to write said, because you just write the name of who is speaking on the left-hand side. And then the blue writing, the dark blue writing in brackets is like your stage directions. So that's telling you how he said it. So instead of putting he screamed, you'd put in brackets screamed. Or instead of putting she shouted, you'd have that in brackets shouted. Okay, so it is quite a different way of writing. So, and you scroll down a little bit more. I probably won't read all of this, but you can see on the left-hand side, you've got different characters. You've got the Mad Hatter, the Dormouse, the Hare, and Alice further down. So you could have maybe just Beowulf and Hrothgar, but then you might want to have a Gayat or a Dane who might ask a little question, or they might raise their mead glass and shout, "Hear, hear, cheers to Beowulf," and this sort of thing. Hrothgar might stand up from his throne and he might say, "Let's all give Beowulf a massive clap," or "Let's all toast to Beowulf," or "I give him more treasures," or something along these lines. So you don't have to go into a lot of detail about the fight scene, because you could be writing that for ages. Just try and have an experiment with how to write a play script. So let's read this one through. So it's got the Mad Hatter, this is from Alice in Wonderland, and then in brackets, so this is what he's doing on the stage, in the scene. So in brackets, starts for a moment, pauses, and then a broad grin appears across his face. He gets up out of his chair and walks across the table towards Alice. And then the bit that he says is in red, "It's you." So you don't have to put it in red. The bit that's not in brackets is what the Mad Hatter is saying. And then the Dormouse says in an exasperated way, that's in brackets, "No, it's not. Hare brought us the wrong Alice." Then Hare gasps and throws his hands against his head. "It's the wrong Alice." Mad Hatter says, "You're absolutely Alice. I'd know you anywhere." And he's saying that to the rest of the characters at the table. "I'd know her anywhere." And the Dormouse and the Hare then laugh, and so on and so on. So you get the drift. So the bits in brackets are the stage directions. That's how people are moving. Like he held his mead glass up in the air, or Beowulf, I don't know, pointed towards something, or lifted up his arms as if pretending that he's holding his sword, or pointed to Grendel's mother's head that might still be in the hall, whatever. So you're writing a play script all about, I'll move it up a little bit more again, all about a short play script. Don't go into too much detail about the fight. Stick to trying to practice how to write a play script. So you've got the names on the left, stage directions in brackets. You don't have to write said so and so, and then literally just write what each person is saying. At the top, you might want to start with, you could start with a title, write a short play script, and then you could start with a little list of the characters. If you think you're going to struggle with this, just have the two characters, Hrothgar and Beowulf. But if you think you're going to be able to extend it a little bit more, you could have some other characters in there too. You might want to have the Queen, or some Danes or Geats and so on. Right, You've got one more lesson tomorrow of Beowulf. I hope you're doing really well. Looking forward to seeing more of your work on the emails. See you tomorrow. Bye bye, everybody.